Now another way to add interactivity is with some JavaScript. Now we have some Spry objects which we'll do next, but for now we're going to use some of the built-in JavaScript in our behaviors. So I'd like you to open PhotoWalks and PhotoWalks End. If I take a look at my end file and preview that in my browser, and I'll choose Firefox. So now when I look at this, I can click on any of my thumbnails, and now I get a preview of a larger size. And one more, and now we'll go back to Dreamweaver. So if I go over to my PhotoWalks page, scroll down a little bit so I can actually see, and I'm just going to go ahead and click on one of my images. So there's a couple of things that we need to be aware of, or we need to make sure that we have before we start our elements. So for one, I want to go ahead and give each one an ID. And I want to give it an alt tag because I don't want to forget that part. And to make my page function correctly, I need that to be a link. I'll hold down my shift key and do my pound sign, or 3. I'm going to hit enter or return just to make sure that it adheres to what I wanted to in the field. And now I need to get my behaviors up. So if I go underneath my window menu and I pull down to behaviors, so now in this particular panel we have attributes. So I've got general attributes about that, so any alignment or height, name, and source. So some really helpful things, anything dynamic and CSS applied to that particular element. And I have behaviors. So in my behaviors, I can call a JavaScript. So for instance, when I work with a form, my preferences here in Dreamweaver are probably not the best for validation. I'm very limited with what I'm able to do. But if I bring in my own JavaScript and call it when I'm trying to validate my form, then I have more powerful access to really the powers of JavaScript. So I can change a property, and you can use this behavior to change the value of an object's properties, for example, the background color of a div or the action of a form. So I can also check my plugins, make sure that the end user has the correct plugin. And I've got some effects. Now these are Spry effects, and I can have a fade or blind or grow and shake. I can go to URL, and this is a bit left over from the frames day. So if I have a link and it's going to go to URL, it's going to be in my main frame or whatever frame that it was supposed to populate that bit of HTML. I can open a browser window, which is what we're going to end up doing. I can have a pop-up message. It looks like a JavaScript error, so I'm not all that fond of that, but if you need a pop-up message and you don't know how to make your own, then you can actually use this. I'm automatically going to preload my images anyway, but I could also then set the text of a container, set the text of a status bar, or a text field. So for instance, my text field is just like a form field, and I can already have a little bit of text in there. So like put first and last name in here. I can show and hide elements. So there's a couple of different elements that I can show and hide, like tables and absolutely positioned items. So for instance, if I roll my cursor over something, then an image pops up inside of a table. Or I have a picture and I need them to know some more information about it, so maybe underneath I have some text that then I can show and hide that will go with that particular image. I can swap images, so this is just a basic rollover for my swap image. And then of course it's already going to restore, and then I can validate my form. Now I can always get more behaviors, so this takes you to the Exchange site on Adobe, where you can get more behaviors. So we're going to choose Open Browser Window. So I need to choose a URL to display, and I need to browse, and I need a width and a height. Well, I don't have that yet, so we need to figure that out first. So for instance, I'm going to go ahead and cancel, and I do have some images in here already inside of some HTML, and I'm going to explain to you why they're in the HTML in just a second. So for instance, I have guides in this particular image. So here's my large image. I've made some guides in here, and all I did was just grab it from inside. Let me get rid of my guide. And all you have to do is grab your guide from your ruler and drag it out. You can see it's displaying the distance. And when I have a horizontal and a vertical ruler, and I hold down on the Mac my command key, on the PC my control key, I get exactly how wide that is. So I can see that it's 522 by 625. So now when I go back to my photo walks and I choose my behavior again, open browser window, so I can choose 625 by 522. I need to find where that browser window is at. So I have in chapter 10 my pictures, and then there's my church picture, and I will click choose, and I'm just going to allow them to have their scroll bars as needed, and I'm going to give it a name of City Life, and I will click OK. So now when I want to check this, I can go back up here and I can preview in Firefox, and I'll go ahead and save it. And now when I click on that, I get my pop-up window. Now it's not really a pop-up window. I said pop-up window, but I basically mean a new browser window. So it's not going to get blocked. I want to make that perfectly clear that this will not get blocked. So I'll go back to Dreamweaver, and we'll just do a couple more, then we'll let you finish the rest. So I'm going to click on my next one here, and I see that when I select it, I've already named it. Now I would want to make sure and give it an alt tag too, but I'm going to let you do that. We're going to come back over here to our behaviors, and I'm going to choose open browser window. But actually we need to figure out, before we do that, just like last time, we want to see the page and what the size is of our open area so that they really don't have to scroll if they don't have to. So I'm going to go ahead and open up dog, and I've already got my guides in here, so I just hold down my command on the Mac and a control on the PC. So I've got 585 for my height and 824 for my width. So I'm going to add my open browser window and 824 by 585. And I'll add my scroll bars, and I'm going to go find my dog. So my beaches, and I will click OK. And now we can just finish on out, and we've got this great added behavior so that when they click on the thumbnail, they can see it in full view. If you've ever been to a website where they've opened this up in a brand new window, but it's the exact same size as the thumbnail, then you'll understand why this is so important.